Before we get started, I wanted to say thank you for being here. If you enjoy these types of episodes, please subscribe to Science and Soul. It's completely free, helps us grow, and makes sure you won't miss a single episode. Dr. Jamie Coleman, welcome.
Hi. It's so good to be here.
It's so wonderful to have a chance to talk to you. We have known each other for a long time.
Yes.
You reached out in, I think, 2017.
I think it was.
And you were really interested in doing research, looking at burnout and acute care surgeons in particular. Talk a little bit about what motivated you to write that email.
It's funny. You know, my husband's a former professional athlete, and as such, ESPN and SportsCenter is on a lot in our home. And after a long time together, I can usually tune some of it out. But Will Ahmed was doing an interview talking about this study they did in really the first study with Whoop, looking at MLB players and how it took these players days to recover after a game. And I jokingly looked at my husband and I said, if it takes days for these 20-something-year-old professionally conditioned athletes to recover after a game, I'd hate to see what I look like as a trauma surgeon, not in my 20s anymore, after a night of call. And that's really where this all started.
I think this is a good chance to just describe what it is that you do. What does an acute care surgeon do?
Thank you for asking me that. I think there's a lot of confusion about what I do. So typically when I answer this, I back up a little bit and talk about the training. Yeah. So I'm a trauma surgeon or acute care surgeon. Those words are fairly interchangeable. But so I did 4 years of university. Then I did 4 years of medical school. Then I did 5 years of, I know, it keeps going, 5 years of general surgery training called a residency. And then after that, I did an additional 2 years in trauma and surgical critical care. So I'm what you would call double boarded. I'm board certified in general surgery as well as surgical critical care, having done that trauma and surgical critical care fellowship. So I operate on everything but bones and brain is kind of how I describe it. And if you've been traumatically injured through really any mechanism, or if you've got any sort of acute or emergency general surgery need, if you're in the intensive care unit and you've had surgery, that's kind of my breadth of the patients or the type of patients that I take care of.
That is a massive scope.
Yes, we don't do things small. It definitely is a wide scope. You know, I tell people if you've been ill or injured, 2:00 in the morning, I'm your person. So on the flip side, if you've met me, your day has not gone as planned, sadly.
Just looking at, just doing research with you, I've become very aware of what a typical day looks like for an acute care surgeon. And really just looking at this, just when you zoom out and look at the year, I mean, you all are on call for 5 to 7 nights per month. You do day shift, you do night shift. You work 61 to 80 hours a week on average.
Yes.
And any one shift can range from 12 hours to 28 hours.
Or more, yes.
More. So inside those parameters, what does a typical day kind of look like?
It's, again, another great question because we're so unique in that people are going to get ill and injured at 2:00 in the morning. And so because of that, there's this whole specialty now that is prepared for that. But it's also a math problem, right? Yeah. So if I'm at a level 1 center, meaning the highest acuity center, this is where we handle any and all types of injuries, any and all types of illnesses. So
we're talking 30 car pileup. We're talking gunshot wounds. We're talking
stab wounds. We're talking falls from heights. We're talking motorcycle collisions, motor vehicle collisions, people being hit by cars, you name it. And we're the one-stop shop. We do all of it, okay? And so for somebody like that, that means you have to have somebody in the hospital 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. So the vast majority of us who work at these types of centers, these level 1 centers, take what we call in-house call. Because if you've been shot or you've been in a motor vehicle collision, you don't want me to, be driving in from 30 minutes away saying, I'll be there in a few. So we need to be able to be at a patient's bedside within 10 to 15 minutes.
In-house call means that you're sleeping in the hospital, just kind of waiting for the moment.
because of the acuity of the illness, because in trauma, we talk about this golden hour, and that's basically the hour that I have to impact a patient's outcome. It's basically the hour in general I have to save a life.
Jeez.
But the hour doesn't start when they hit the hospital. The hour starts when the crash happened, when the gun went off, right? When the injury occurred.
So the timing of when they get to you is just absolutely critical, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the time that it takes for them to get to me is absolutely critical. And then the time for me to respond is absolutely critical.
Yeah.
If I have an hour and a patient comes to me really critically ill and I'm already 30 minutes into it, you can't wait for me to drive in to the hospital and then see what's going on.
Yeah.
So that changes the nature a little bit from most medical specialties.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, unlike a lot of the medical specialties that also do, 24-hour care, there aren't that many of us.
Yeah.
And so, again, it often becomes a math problem of this is the number of days, this is the number of hours. We have to have someone in the hospital for this amount of time.
Like your roster size.
It's your
just so
roster
small.
size. Exactly. I mean, a lot of times
bring in a sport analogy.
No,
but,
I love it. A lot of times it's just the call schedule is 365 divided by however many of us there are. We're doing some work currently into trying to figure out what that schedule should look like. And that's, again, where a lot of our research comes into play is what is the physiologic impact of taking a night of call? And we talk about a night of call, but like you alluded to, I can be in the hospital anywhere from 12 hours to 32, 36 hours at a time. And that goes for trauma surgeons across the country.
What is the physiological toll?
It's not small, as you know.
I mean, these data they just blow my mind.
Right. So in our paper, as you know, our average age was in the early 40s.
Yeah, 43 was
43.
age,
And yet physiologically, we looked like we were in our 60s. That's for a few reasons. Really, our job is hard.
Yeah.
There's the content of what we do, which is
The emotional toll.
emotional toll. It's the physicality of it. It's the clinical decision making.
Yeah.
I am trying to make a decision about where this patient shows up to me. I have no information a lot of times, no CT scans, no x-rays, right? As soon as they hit the door. And I'm trying to figure out what do I need to make the decision about whether this person needs to go emergently to the operating room. Do we need to go to the CAT scanner? Do we need to go to the ICU? And so it's a puzzle with a time clock going off in terms of trying to make really big decisions with oftentimes limited information. So that's stressful in of itself. Then we have the operating room. We know that even in an elective case, even in a case that not stressful at all, you get a cortisol bump. Peaks about 30 to 45 minutes into the case, and then depends on the case on how long that cortisol bump happens and stays up or whether it comes back down.
So you're just really activated.
Oh, you're
for
activated.
Extended periods of time unless you are intervening intentionally.
Correct. We are activated and we have physiologic measurements that show that we're activated in the emergency room. So it's called during a trauma activation. When we're trying to figure out what's going on with this patient, we know that we're activated in the operating room. And then we also know that we're having a tough conversation when we're trying to share bad news. We're also activated. So there's the content of it. But then you throw in the fact that we're doing this at 2 o'clock in the morning, right? And you start having these circadian rhythm alterations.
Yeah.
And then to top it all off, we do this a long time. I've been taking in-house call. I was doing the math on it, which I shouldn't have. I've been taking in-house call for almost 23 years now.
I mean, our study, I think the average was 2 nights a call per month for 10 years.
Yes. Yeah.
So you're basically...
Because I'm counting medical school, right? I'm counting medical school, at this point too, with taking in-house call.
Yeah.
And so when you take in-house call for this long, it becomes normal.
Yeah.
And so we don't...
You've just adapted to kind of this...
Right. It's
lower...
just, this is our normal. But the problem with that, though, is that we don't act like oftentimes what we're doing is hard.
Yeah. You're so numb to it.
We're so numb to it that really when you look at what we're doing, and when I give talks on this and I'm giving lectures, if I have to break it down, what are we doing to prepare ourselves to do this? And what are we doing after what we do to make sure that we're recovering from it.
Yeah.
And that's where, again, our work is really focused, is the first step has just been to step on the scale.
Yeah.
What is this doing to us? Then it's going to be, and this is where we're shifting next, into adapting. What's the best way to prepare our bodies and our minds, as I know we're going to talk about?
Yeah.
And what's the best way to recover our bodies and our minds as we know how connected they really are?
Right. I think you have this incredible sense of urgency because you see the data.
Yes.
You recognize that, all right, I'm 43 years old, but my physiology looks like that of a 60-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden you're like, okay, I need to do some things in my life differently.
Yes.
I need to figure out how to mitigate the negative effects of that this job is going to have on me.
Right.
I think for folks listening, you can kind of imagine your life in the same way in that we all have stress, right?
Yes.
How we manage it before, during, and after is going to dictate the pace of our aging.
So here's the deal. Let's talk about stress for a second, okay? Stress has such a negative connotation, but actually it's this pendulum, right? There's such a thing as good stress or eustress.
Yeah.
And then there's this inflection point where we go into distress.
Yeah.
Now, fatigue impacts where that inflection point lives. And I think we all know that, right? When you're tired, the smallest thing will set you
irritated
off.
as hell.
You know, like I will tell you, my lowest point is when I am in the parking garage. I've been up for 30 hours, 32, 36 hours, and I can't remember where I parked my car. And it is just, you would think that I, internally, like a bomb has gone off because I'm just like the world has ended because I can't find my car, right? So where that inflection point happens depends on fatigue. But the thing to remember is that we can stress ourselves through a variety of ways, right? I can get your heart rate up right now. For you, if I go ask you, you'd have to, normally I would say you run up a flight of stairs. But for you, I'd probably have to say 30 flights of stairs. But, I can get your heart rate up by telling you that. I could tell you, hey, pop quiz, I'm going to ask you one question and your next paycheck depends on that, right?
Yeah.
This mental load or mental stress.
Yeah.
Or I can tell you your loved one has died. And not only will your heart rate go up, but mine will too.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that no matter how we get there, so no matter what's going on in your life that's getting that stress, our body only knows one output.
Right.
Right? So regardless of what's going on in your life, when you have that stress, what's happening is in our body, we have the parasympathetic nervous system, right? And our sympathetic nervous system. This is our fight or flight. It's kind of this gas pedal, brake pedal sort of situation.
Perfect analogy.
So no matter what's getting you there, your body is basically saying, I'm stressed, I'm getting chased by a bear.
Yeah.
Right? So how do I manage that? And when I talk about what I do, which a lot of it is to people that aren't trauma surgeons, it's the physiology of learning how to do hard things.
Yeah.
How do we heal ourselves? How do we strengthen ourselves? And I think that's applicable to everybody.
I think what you have managed to figure out, and I think really the lesson for the rest of us is that, all right, this gas pedal is going to be down for periods of time.
Yes.
How do you fill up your gas tank?
Yes.
So you can go into the next moment of really high stress, life or death, having to make decisions, having to talk to families. How do you fill up your gas tank?
Yep. It's funny. I always use the savings account analogy
that's a
too.
good one too, the
I like
bank.
that too.
Yeah,
I know. I was like,
yeah.
how do I add to my bank? Because it's true. Our bodies have a stress savings account.
Yeah.
In our HRV, our heart rate variability.
Yeah.
And so how do I restore that? So a couple of things. One is sleep is huge.
So restoring balance.
Restoring
via
sleep is, a big one, like I said, because how we emotionally process things is absolutely impacted by our sleep as well. If we're tired, like I said, everything feels bigger. Everything feels, pushing you over the edge is a lot easier, when you're tired. And so I already know that they're going to meet X number of nights in a month that I'm not going to sleep well. I already know that.
Right.
So I really hone in on the rest of it in the sense of I traveled here to film this.
Yeah.
I travel with my own pillow.
Yeah.
And it sounds silly, but it's, trying to maintain my sleep. And so it's in a few ways. One is really dialing in to the physiology of it, understanding optimal sleep environment. So the temperature of the room, making sure I have my eye mask every night.
It's nice and dark.
Nice and dark, having it cold. I do use a weighted blanket.
Amazing.
I think the evidence for that is
We
very good.
Did a huge, basically a study on sleep anxiety.
Yes.
And weighted blanket was, I think, right behind dimming lights at night in terms of having the biggest impact on restorative sleep. So a lot of folks with sleep anxiety benefit from just that cocoon kind of feeling. It's safe.
Yep, absolutely. And so again, the data shows us that we need to build a sleep routine.
Yeah.
Right? It works for babies. We do this when we're sleep training.
And then we get away from it.
And then we just get away from it. But there's a reason why. There's things called sleep cues.
Yeah.
When I tell my body what it needs to do, it's going to do it better. So really building up my sleep routine, also trying to be as consistent as possible. You know, one of the things we found in our sleep consistency, it was really more of a sleep inconsistency
It was
score.
basically, we couldn't even score it because it was so random.
It was so random.
I was like, I'm not quite sure what to do with these data.
You're like, this is not normal. And so trying to control what I can.
Yeah.
Right? And so making sure I have my sleep routine, making sure, I have my pillow, my eye mask, shutting off screen time, the TV is not on in my bedroom, timing when I'm eating as well. Again, when I give my body one job to do, it'll do it better. Yeah. So I'm not trying to have a heavy dinner right before sleep. Yeah. And as you know, I don't drink alcohol, maybe a handful at most times in a year. Yeah. Because the impact on my sleep and my recovery, as it does for most people.
It's just too big.
It's too big. Yeah. I don't
I
have
mean,
that.
For you, you're putting so much other stress on your body. Right. So to put a poison.
And I'm like, it's not going to work. It just can't do it.
Sustainable.
It's not sustainable. And so making sure that I'm really prepping myself even hours before I go to bed and making sure that I'm doing it consistently.
You said, I control what I can control. We know that control is feeling a sense of agency is one of the core psychological needs that we have as human beings. And you know, I think there's so much about your life that you cannot control.
Yes.
I would imagine focusing on the things that you can is really the only way to manage anxiety.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a huge believer into really embracing the dichotomy of control.
Yeah.
I can control my behavior. I can't control how other people act or treat me. Yeah. I can't choose my patience in the sense of I can't choose when it's going to happen. Yeah. I can't choose what's going to happen, but I can control how I act. I can control my thinking to a certain extent, right? Yeah. And therefore my feelings as well in terms of what kind of atmosphere am I going to create around me? How am I going to help lead this team? How am I going to help them get through something traumatic as well? Yeah. I mean, trauma is literally in the definition of what I do. Yeah. And so it's understanding that everyone around me is also getting secondarily traumatized. Yeah. There was a study that was done that actually looked at our trauma registry people. So, you know, it's hard to improve something you don't measure. Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into trauma surgery that we measure everything that we do. So people even reviewing the charts, they're just reading what happened. Yeah. Has such a high rate of being secondarily traumatized that you can imagine then what my team is going through. Yeah. And so being aware of that. So then everything I do with intention, I think that's the other big thing when we talk about preparing ourselves for this. What do I do to recover? What do I do to fill my gas tank? It's staying tied to my purpose. Yeah. It's understanding that what I do is hard and it's okay. And not only okay, but I love to do hard things. Yeah. If you ask me the hardest things of my life, it's being a mom, it's being a wife, and it's being a trauma surgeon. Yeah. And if you ask me the three most fulfilling aspects of my life, it's being a wife, being a trauma surgeon, and being a mom.
Yeah, and I think when things get hard, like coming back to our purpose is what helps us get through.
Yes. Yes, there's a reason why I'm here.
Yeah.
And
it's your calling.
It is.
You know.
And I think we so often lose that for no matter what you do.
What we see specifically in frontline healthcare generally, but certainly an acute care surgeon, is you actually get detached from your purpose. You kind of forget why you're doing what you're doing because of the burnout because of the lack of recovery, running on fumes, an empty gas tank. You know, like I always say, like, it's the cross that you bear in your profession that you can't afford to wing it. You have to be so
Definitely
damn
not.
intentional about everything,
Yes.
you know, and that's the cross that you bear, you know,
Yeah.
but I think that's why you're such an important role model, you
Oh,
know,
thank you.
for the rest of us, you know, in that, you know, you're operating at the very, very extreme. So if we can just do even a tenth of what
Yes.
you're doing, we're going to be in a really, really good spot.
But I think it does translate. We all have hard days.
Yeah.
We all have bad days. Yeah. We all have amazing days. And I think I heard this phrase once that I love sometimes, that it's getting lost in the thick of thin things.
Hmm.
And oftentimes we do that, even, you know, in medicine, that, you know, I'm at the computer, you know, and it's just miserable. And the thing is we know that. We know that when you're tied to your purpose, feeling burned out goes down. In one of the papers that we did, right, we looked at home call. So you're sleeping at home. You're already burned out. Your burnout goes up just from being on call. If I get called, because, you know, my pager goes off and someone asks me a question, but I don't have to go back into the hospital, but I get called, so I get that sleep disruption. But even beyond that sleep disruption, my burnout goes up. But if I get called, so I'm on call, I get called, and I have to go back into the hospital. Me going back into the hospital, even though I sleep less, almost all of the burnout associated with that call goes away.
I know that's such a wild finding.
Because I'm going in for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never had anyone look at me at 2 o'clock in the morning when we are helping a patient who needs us, who is critically ill, who literally we are fighting to save their life. I've never had anyone in the middle of that look at me and say, gosh, I'm tired, or I'm burned out. Yeah. But at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when you're slogging through paperwork, you're behind that computer, and what you feel like, what you're doing feels like it doesn't matter. Yeah. That's where we get burned out. And that goes for everyone. And
Practicing your craft is not it.
Exactly.
Like
that is, you know.
Yeah.
And so I think for all of us, it's understanding that even at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, slogging through that paperwork, slogging through those emails, that allows me to be there for patients at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. So it's tying more of my daily activities to my purpose. Yeah. To keep myself from getting frustrated.
Yeah, that's such a great technique, because there's just so many things. Like, what, you know, I always think about, all right, you know, to what degree do my values align with the things that I'm doing, you know, and I try to like make these connections. And I know for me personally, like I need at least 80% match for me to like feel good about life, you know? So I'm like, all right, there's going to be 20% though that, you know, it's just like, I got to do it in order to do these other 80%.
Exactly.
You know, and it's kind of like, there's a little bit of a means to an end there, and you just have to frame it as such. Yes. So you kind of keep yourself, you know, so say that phrase again, the line.
Oh, getting lost in the thick of thin things.
Yes. And that's
right. Doesn't that just,
it does.
Like,
it
hit
really
me in the sense
is
of
an amazing way to think about the little things that you got to do.
Perspective also.
Yeah.
And I'm also a big believer in practicing gratitude. And as much as I think when I talk about practicing gratitude, especially when I'm talking in front of a group of surgeons or maybe medical professionals, and I can get an eye roll, and I start breaking out the studies. I got patients with heart failure. They practice gratitude, they get an improvement in their heart rate variability, their HRV. These things have cellular level impacts on us. Yeah. And so when I can sit there and I can sense myself getting frustrated, just taking the moment to be like, you know what? I'm healthy. Yeah. I'm here, especially for me, right? Like I spend so much of my day facing ill health, bad health, health, real problems and issues. Yeah. That finding something just very core to center me, say, you know what? I'm glad I have the opportunity or this little thing is annoying me right now.
Yeah. I think in the frontline healthcare profession, just generally, you know, there's this notion of sacrifice. You know, you've got a very service-oriented archetype who is so conditioned at putting themselves literally last. Yes. How do you reconcile this like drive to serve, but also not put yourself last?
I think what we have to understand is that sports analogy. if you have a player that's injured, you don't put them on the field. If you have a player that needs a break, you give them a break. And I think what we've learned, right, especially even in athletics, that pushing through, you're going to hurt yourself.
It just leads to illness and injury.
It just leads to illness and injury, right? I mean, when you're tired,
Mentally,
again,
physically,
with you guys' data, right? Like sleep wasn't good, you're higher risk of non-contact injuries, strains,
100%.
sprains, overuse.
Yeah.
It's the same thing for us, is that understanding that actually delivering the best care for our patients means that I'm healthy. That again, it's not, oh, I'm choosing my patients over me, or I'm choosing me over my patients. It's understanding that it's me who delivers the care to the patients.
Right.
And so...
And you got to show up for them.
Right. Ensuring the best care for my patients means that I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah.
And so understanding that if you need a pause, you need a break, that you're doing these maintenance things, you're creating space, right? And I'm not on call a week at a time. Right?
Yeah.
For a reason.
Yeah.
I'm no good if I've been awake for 7 days in a row. I'm not helping anybody, much less myself. And so I think part of it is, again, understanding that, again, to deliver the best care to our patients, we have to take care of ourselves. And I think it's really understanding that we've got to take care of ourselves, and we're not good at it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, that self-appraisal at the end of the day, when you can ask yourself, it's not just, okay, how did I do? What could I do better? Those are all great. But also, what did I do today for myself?
Yeah.
And I think we have to ask ourselves those questions.
Yeah. And understanding how that relates to patient care, actually.
Absolutely.
You know, I think sometimes for some reason that connection seems to not be there.
We lose that. And we lose it. But when you start playing it out and you start telling people or trying to give people the idea of, all right, well, let's play that out then. Are you at your best? No, you're not, right? And you start playing that out for people and having them really think about, how do you think you are when you're really tired? Decision-making is slowed. It takes longer. Even your reaction time is slowed. On top of, we lose empathy. We even lose our ability to detect sarcasm, which I always say is
those studies are
it's impressive, right?
Yeah,
it's really fascinating.
Actually, like, how is this even possible?
Right.
But, yeah.
But when you really understand the impact of not taking care of yourself, then that taps into that natural altruism that we have. Saying, I don't want to just be a surgeon. I want to be an excellent surgeon.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a nurse. You want to be an excellent nurse. You want to be an excellent physician. You want to be excellent at whatever it is that you do.
Yeah.
Part of that is taking care of yourself. And then that taps into, again, your purpose.
Yeah.
So it doesn't become that toxic altruism.
Right.
It's understanding I have to be altruistic towards myself. I have to invest. I got to fill the gas tank. I got to fill the savings account so that I can be the healthiest possible. So my patients become the healthiest they can be.
When we first met, you know, we're getting to know each other. We're embarking on like
Yes.
this, you know, we didn't know it was going to be this kind of 8-year journey of research, but, you know, you were I think you had just had your first baby, and you were talking about one of the cases. This case involved a toddler, you know, who was badly beaten, and you couldn't save him.
Yeah.
And you know, you see gun violence, domestic violence, child abuse, overdoses. You are exposed to the darkest side of the human condition. And I just wonder, like, how do you reconcile that?
So non-accidental trauma, just child abuse, typically what we're talking about, is one of the hardest things that I see. It's all hard. You are exposed to seeing what one human can do to another. And there are things that I've seen, and it's multisensory, things I've heard, right, felt, that make a lasting impact. That you have to understand then, because I'm at such an extreme, because I see this, I've had to form a way to get through it and to do it. And, you know, particularly with that case did hit me particularly very hard. The child was close to my now oldest child's age at the time. And, I left and I went up to my office and just sat and cried. And I called my husband, as I do, and he let me cry for a few minutes. And of course, my pager goes off and he's like, all right, the next patient needs you more. You've done what you could. I think as humans, we're very good about compartmentalizing. But what we're not good at is processing it.
Yeah.
And so what I've had to learn is how to process it. There's a quotation from a French surgeon, and I'm going to butcher it, but it's saying that in every surgeon lies within them a cemetery.
Yeah.
And it's true. And I think part of it is honoring them and respecting them to learn from every situation that I've been in, and also to make me the best I can be for the next patient.
Yeah.
And then the next patient, and then the next patient. But in order to be there for them, I have to emotionally process it. And so some of it's very intentional. I've had a few cases that stick out to me where I have to be ready for the next patient, and I do. I set it aside. But I understand that what I'm doing, I'm setting it aside. I'm putting it in my backpack.
Yeah.
I haven't let go of it yet.
Yeah.
And what happens is if I don't come back and if I don't pull that back out and look at it and sit in it,
it's a rock.
it stays in there. And then all of a sudden, there's another rock.
Yeah.
And then another one.
Yeah.
Because the truth of it is that if there's something that we don't like to think about, that usually means we haven't thought about it enough. Right? If that emotion or that memory still hurts, that means we probably haven't sat in it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I have to do. Sometimes I have to set a timer. I have to set aside a period of time. Usually it's rather short. But I have to pull it out. And I have to sit in it. I have to let myself feel. I have to be sad. I have to be mad. I have to grieve. And that's really what I think a lot of people don't understand, that so much of what we're trying to process in our life is grief or sadness when something doesn't turn out the way that we want it. Even if we did things perfectly, right? This is one of the things I've had to reconcile. I could be perfect. And even if I am perfect, patients are still going to die.
Yeah.
And so learning how to process those feelings, I meditate a lot. I use binaural beats. I put the headphones in and I sit and I allow myself to feel so that I can take the rock out of the backpack. It doesn't go away. It goes in my little rock garden, off to the side. But it's understanding that I've processed it. So now I can move through it and not try and carry it with me. And I think that that is essential to doing what I do. And I think it's essential for all of us. Really what my job is about, it's about healing. And sometimes I can do that directly in the operating room.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's being there for the family.
Yeah.
And really getting to the point where we can all ask ourselves, what have I done to heal myself today? So that I can be better and whole and move forward with intention, stay tied to my purpose because I'm clear-minded and I'm not weighed down by all these unprocessed emotions and trauma.
Yeah. Wow. When we look at the statistics, I think 20% of folks, will have PTSD from a traumatic experience. And and essentially what you're doing is you're basically preventing yourself from kind of going into that post-traumatic stress
disorder
by really processing and managing emotions and grief and loss as it comes. And I wonder, I would imagine, for people listening, I hope this feels like kind of an aha moment, you know, because we kind of have these like many things that are happening and big things that are happening over the course of our life, at the end of a relationship, the death of a loved one. And you talk about, sitting in the emotion, like, and carving space to do that.
Yes.
Given your very, very busy schedule.
Yes.
So I think I don't know that most folks live with that kind of intention. You have to,
I have
because
to.
you won't survive
No.
otherwise. Like
No.
you'll end up like many of your colleagues,
Yes.
suicidal,
Yep.
committing suicide. I mean, we could talk about
Yeah,
those
we're gonna talk
stats
about
in a
that.
second,
Yeah.
but so you are kind of forced to have these really dialed in, ways of being in the world.
Yes.
So you can show up. Have you worked with a therapist? Like, how have you garnered this level of wisdom?
Well,
I mean, it's
thank you.
probably like you've had to.
I mean, some of it is definitely necessity.
Yeah.
Right? In the sense that I'm a mom. I don't spend every night at home with my kids.
Yeah.
And I knew that before I had children. I had children, at the end of my after I was already a surgeon.
Yeah.
So I had to reconcile the fact that, again, tying to my purpose, that I may miss some of my child's events or soccer games, but I do it so that I can be there for someone else's child to help them in a way that they need. And so similarly with this, it's finding purpose in that if I'm going to do this, I have to be able to do it well. I have to be intentional.
Yeah. And
I have to be prepared to continue to show up. And so, yes, I think therapy, I think everyone should have a therapist. I mean, when you think about it, there can be such a hindrance or maybe a fear.
Yeah.
But
it's a stigma.
It's a stigma, right?
Yeah.
But when we talk about it, it's a mental coach. Now, I'm not saying that therapy is the same as coaching, but when you back up in the 30,000-foot view it's to make you better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who doesn't want to be better?
I know. I mean, and we see in sports, like, everyone has a mental skills coach, right?
Everyone has a sports psychologist.
We've broken down that
Again,
stigma and be like, hey, like, this is a
Absolutely.
competitive advantage. And if you don't have one, you are leaving something on the table.
And we know this in studies that look at
like the rest of us. Like,
I mean, I'm telling you, it's funny. There was a study done on Olympians, those that medaled and didn't. The main difference was how they talked to themselves. What was their mental self-talk when they made a mistake?
Yeah.
Because when you look at Olympians, right? I mean, technically, like at some point, there's to a degree, you've got so much human conditioning you can do.
Yeah.
They all kind of should be able to do the same thing. The difference was the self-talk.
Yeah.
So learning how to stay calm in chaos, learning how to calm your own body and mind is a skill that everybody can develop. And so, yes, I am a huge believer in meditation, therapy.
Yeah.
The science behind binaural beats is a little mixed, but
it works for
do
you.
it.
So
I do it. It works for me. And, meditation, I mean, again, people, same thing, eyes kind of gloss over. I'm telling you, 5 to 7 minutes a day, you can down-regulate your own amygdala, which is the part of your brain that's going to be that gas pedal, brake pedal, telling you whether you're being chased by a bear or not, right? But even though even though that what's telling your body you're being chased by a bear is a really upsetting email, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's all the same output.
In the modern day version
in the
of the
modern
bear.
day bear, but it's all the same output.
Yeah.
And so being able to tap into your body, and what I say is find the space, right?
Yeah.
There are the things that happen to you. There are the things that people say to you, things that people do to you. And then there's a space. Then there's how you respond, how you think.
Yeah.
Sometimes your feelings you can't necessarily control, but it's finding that space and elongating it, right?
Yeah.
So that we're more in control of how we respond.
Yeah. I always say, like, I feel like controlling, being able to kind of direct your thoughts is like the superpower of the 21st century.
100%.
Because and when I look at really, really successful people who are doing hard things.
Yes.
And are maintaining a sense of balance and proportion in their life, they can control and direct their thoughts.
Yes.
And you do that via mindfulness meditation, meditation. There's lots of different types of practices. But I think that the thing that keeps coming back, when I speak to folks like yourself, is that you carve out time. You keep saying that.
Yeah.
5 to 7 minutes. It's like these patches of time across the day that you're carving out to intentionally deactivate your nervous system.
100%. And I think the thing is listen, you and I, we are all in sort of people, right?
Yes.
And a little bit of an understatement. For better or for worse. Definitely a bit of an understatement. Again, we both know each other. But it's understanding, right, that okay, maybe I can't do a 60-minute workout today. 20 minutes is better than 0 minutes, right? 10 minutes. And so I think for me, it's being able to say 5 minutes.
Yeah.
When I sit down at the hospital, 3 minutes even, if I'm really feeling pushed.
Yeah.
I can take 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I can take 180 seconds to set my intention for the day, to make sure that I'm showing up and being the best that I can.
Yeah.
And so that's what I tell people when they're trying to start this. Start small.
Yeah.
Small works. Pennies add up to $1. And what I will tell you, right, is that, again, you see a penny on the ground. Yeah, I'm not picking that up, right?
Yeah.
But what it does is it gives you that focus to be able to kind of have this dual vision. In other words, if we're constantly looking straight ahead, right, far ahead, and we don't look down every once in a while where our feet are, you're going to stumble over something.
Yeah.
Conversely, if I'm constantly looking down and I never look up, I'm going to walk into a wall, right?
Yeah.
So being able to being present while still being tied to your purpose and keeping an eye on your goals and who you want to be, and thinking of your future self, understanding that future self really begins with building your present self and directing your present self.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what the mindfulness and meditation allows me to do.
Yeah.
And so I tell people, start small. Can you look at yourself and say, I'm going to take 3 minutes. I deserve 3 minutes to make myself better today. And I think we can all do that.
Yeah.
And I think what you'll start noticing is that it feels good.
Yeah.
And it can become addictive in its own way.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times now when I can feel myself getting activated and be like, I need to go sit and meditate and breathe for a minute. And we all can do that. I think sometimes it's just meditation, people get uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
I tell people you can start out with guided. You can start out with just, don't even try to like really quote unquote meditate. Just sit quietly, phone off, eyes closed, and breathe for 3 minutes, right? Different ways to start. But once you start, most people feel the value of it.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
I recently engaged a transcendental meditation coach.
Oh, did you?
It's really cool. They're all over
so
the country,
cool.
and they have centers in every state. So I've been doing it for a bit, and it is amazing the shift. I'd always been I'd done mindfulness meditation, so I really very intentional. I usually nature walks. I love walking and doing mindful meditation. It's very therapeutic to me. But I kind of felt like, all right, there's another layer here.
There is.
And I was always quite scared of meditation. I tried it as an athlete, and I really, it made me feel quite panicky, actually.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think I had a lot of unprocessed trauma.
I already knew the answer to that. That's why
I know. I'm like,
because you and I have the same sort of background, which we can talk about.
Yeah. So I think,
but I think that's the key, right?
It
that goes
is.
back to it's the unprocessed trauma. We don't like being still.
No, it's just constant
because
movement,
what happens when
busyness,
we're still, right? We think, and this goes back to my statement of when something doesn't feel good to think about, it usually means we haven't thought about it enough.
Yep.
I want to talk to you about our sponsor, Whoop, because we've just launched something that is going to shift how we all understand aging. It's part of the new 5.0 and MG, and it's called HealthSpan. It gives you a real, measurable view of how quickly or slowly your body is aging. Not in theory, but through data that connects directly to your daily behaviors. What's been the most compelling for me is how responsive the metric is. My biological age is currently tracking more than a decade below my chronological age. I can see almost in real time what is contributing to that. Things like sleep consistency, my VO2 max, time in various zones, strength training minutes. When those are dialed in, my number slows. And when they're off, it accelerates. It's that sensitive. We built HealthSpan into the 5.0 to give people a clear view of what's really impacting their long-term health. Because once you can see it, you can change it. If you want to try HealthSpan, visit join.whoop.com/science where you can get 1 month for free. I am not going to romanticize the experience of cold plunging. It's uncomfortable and it's intense, but it's supposed to be. That's the whole point. Getting in cold water is a deliberate choice to lean into stress, then practice staying composed while you're in it. That ability to regulate your nervous system under pressure is foundational. It's how we become more adaptable, more focused, and more steady for all the moments that matter to us the most. I've been using the Vigor Cold Plunge from our sponsor. hot spring spas. And what I love is how seamlessly it supports my habit of cold plunging. It's a plug-in tub, and it's always ready to use. So I just step in, do my work, and get on with my day. And believe me, it's cold. It goes all the way down to 40 degrees Fahrenheit or 4 degrees Celsius. But 3 minutes in vigor can elevate your energy levels, your mood, sharpen focus, and ease muscle soreness. Hot Spring has put nearly 50 years of water care and energy efficiency experience into this design, and it shows. If you're ready to make cold exposure part of your practice, head to hotspring.com/soul. Again, hotspring.com/soul.
You know, kind of going back to unprocessed trauma, because I think people with traumatic backgrounds,
Yes.
we gravitate toward these really high stress, high stakes environments where we are rewarded for going. I guess if you have examples of people you know who have unprocessed trauma in these high stakes and high stress environments, what happens to them versus people who have trauma, have processed it, and are in these high stakes. So maybe that juxtaposition.
Okay, well, I'm going to back up a little bit and talk about, kind of my own. So I grew up in a physically abusive home, very chaotic. And so when we talk about trauma, we talk about especially abusive relationships, right? And I view this in certain stages. And that in the first stage is it's my fault, right? Whether that's because that's what you've been explicitly told. I'm doing this to you because you did this. Or it's just implied. This happened to me because I did this. So the first stage is it's my fault. And what happens there from a very early age is we get these neural pathways where we actually get this magical thinking that we can control other people's behavior. And so that's good and bad. It's good in the sense that we are constantly then evaluating ourselves, saying, how can I be better? I need to work harder. If I work harder, then everything will be okay. But the downside of that is really taking away from that dichotomy of control. I'm saying then that when something bad happens, it's my fault. In other words, then that's saying, well, their behavior is because of me. I control their behavior. And we know that that's completely not true. Like I said earlier, there are things that people say to you, do to you. There's this pause, and then people choose. That was a choice.
Yeah.
People chose to do that, right? And so what happens, though, is that first stage, it's my fault. And what comes with that is shame.
Yeah.
Which is an inhibitory emotion. It inhibits us from feeling other things. And it's a shame quicksand, right? Like it'll just drown you. So you don't talk about it because it's my fault. Like a mother-child relationship is supposed to be inviolable, right? It's nature. It's every animal on the planet. There's that, mother bear sort of instinct. And so when that isn't there, like it wasn't for me, then it's the shame of, well, there must be something wrong with me that didn't happen.
Right.
But then what happens over time is you start to kind of maybe think or question, well, maybe this isn't normal. Maybe this isn't okay, right? Maybe there is some pathology or some abnormal behavior happening here. And then this kind of spans all the way from that first question of, is this normal, to then fully grasping and understanding how bad it was, the full extent of the trauma. And that's often hard.
Yeah.
We block things from childhood. We block painful memories. We don't like to bring out that big boulder, right? Because it's heavy and it's hard to carry. We don't
know what's going to happen.
We don't know what's
going to
happen.
It out. How is this going to change me? How is it going to?
And so because also what happens, though, is as we're processing that, and once you get to the point that you start realizing or fully admitting to yourself or acknowledging the depth of that trauma, the depth of that abuse, then comes that second mountain of shame. Because then it's, well, why didn't I say something? Why didn't I do something, again, for adults? Why didn't I leave him or her?
Right.
Why didn't I stop this? Why didn't I quit this? Why didn't I speak up? Why didn't I? So then after that, though, for me, it was a forgiveness session. And forgive in the true verb active form of that word. And so when you learn that you've got to sit in all these feelings, you got to acknowledge that you've had that shame, which again is an inhibitory emotion. So that inhibits us from being able to process all of our emotions with everything else.
Yeah.
And you forgive yourself. And you say, why would I have been prepared for someone to treat me poorly? Why should I be prepared? I shouldn't have to be. And you forgive your former self, whether it's you write them a letter, whether you take a session and you kind of sit with who you were then. You say, I forgive you. You didn't know. Yeah. And now we do, though. And I think part of that then, which is I think what you and I have talked about, which is kind of where we are now in processing this, is you've forgiven yourself. And I will tell you, it is the most freeing.
It really is.
Like lightning of a load that you've carried around. And then it was Buechner.
Even if you're not even acting out as a victim.
No.
You have that.
Oh, no, we internalize it.
Pathology.
Yes.
In you.
Which is, it's always my fault.
Totally.
And so I just need to try harder.
And that manifests, yes.
I need to try harder, work harder. And if I'm just perfect, then everything will be perfect.
It'll be fine.
Yes. And so then, and it was Frederick Buechner who kind of coined this phrase that I love, but talk about being good stewards of your pain.
Yeah. I love that so much.
Right? And so then it's about, when we talk about me being a trauma surgeon, my past has given me an ability to connect at a level with someone on their lowest day, when they're just now experiencing, again, something traumatic.
Yeah.
In a way that I can see them. I mean, that's really what human connection is about.
Yeah.
Is seeing someone else and feeling seen. And then on top of that, having those neural pathways to be able to stay calm in chaos. With a traumatic childhood, you learn very early on how to emotionally self-regulate because you're trying to be the one that's calming. You're trying to add order to the chaos.
Yeah.
You're trying to soothe other people's nervous systems. Yeah. And so often that gives us a high EQ.
Yeah.
Which again is something that we use and can use. Mm. And it's understanding, you and I have talked about this before. I don't believe necessarily in some vengeful, universal sort of being that does things to people for a reason. So I don't necessarily believe that things happen to people for a reason. Mm. But I think you can find a reason in the things that happen to you. Yeah. And so that is part of the healing. We all have things to heal from. Sometimes it's mostly in our bodies. Sometimes it's mostly in our souls. Mm. And so understanding how the body is tied to the soul, which again, is, I love this podcast for that very reason, because those are tied.
Yeah.
There's no way to divorce those or separate those. And so the idea, again, of doing this transcendental meditation is allowing you to be a good steward of your pain, because not just about being a trauma surgeon, but it's about being able to connect to people on a whole level that allows this sort of forum and these sorts of discussions, which I want to help every single person that's living today. We all have something to heal from.
Yeah.
So what are you doing to heal yourself today? And that's what this is about.
Love that. I know you have to give a lot of really hard news to families. But I will say that the folks that get to interact with you on the worst day of their lives are so damn lucky.
Thank you. It's for my job, it's understanding that person woke up that morning, put on their socks, put on their shoes, and had no plan of meeting me that day. The traumatic nature of my job is so multi-level.
Yeah.
It's something sudden that happened. It's something that you didn't want to have happen. That's also sudden, that physically hurts, that mentally hurts, that has this ripple impact on your life and for those around them. And so it's making sure that I can be there for them through that ripple effect. And it's the ultimate privilege. Again, I have all these disclaimers, when I give a talk, and one of my disclaimers is I love my job.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about how hard it is, but I love it. It is the ultimate privilege.
So we know based on the statistics that, trauma is just a feature of the life experience. How do we best prepare ourselves for just that eventuality?
I think some of it's accepting that it is an eventuality.
Yeah.
In that
So a stoic kind of approach.
it's a stoic kind of approach in the sense of, you know, what can happen is we get this gap in our lives where this is the way things should be. This is the way things should be right here. But then they're the way things are. And in this gap is frustration and anger and resentment. And when we understand, like, oh, I had a bad day, that means something's wrong. There's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with my life. I had a bad day, or this tragic thing happened to me or to my family member. Understanding that you are going to have a bad day. It's understanding for me, no matter what I do, there are patients that are going to die. I can't live in this expectation that no one's ever going to die, right? Because then I'm going to constantly feel like I'm a failure. It's understanding that part of this is using these opportunities to learn and become better and to grow and to heal, to continue to show up. But I think probably the best preparation is understanding that it's going to happen. And that way, when it does happen, we don't fall into that shame. We don't fall into, it's our fault. What's wrong with me? Also, I don't know what to do because this isn't supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And I think, again, that's where the mindfulness, meditation, I think therapy is a fantastic tool for everyone, really. Because, like we said, trauma happens to everyone in its own unique way. And learning how to become good at your bad days is what makes you a better human. It's what makes you better able to connect and better able to heal.
What is the state of your profession right now? Because when we're doing the research, we're writing the introductions.
Yes.
I'm like, this looks really bleak.
This is not great. Yes. So like we've talked about, the content of my job is hard, right? Critical decision making in the operating room, delivering bad news, processing that, seeing traumatic things. And then there's the how we do it, right? Where we're doing this at 2:00 in the morning and we're not having the sleep regularity. And it shows.
Yeah.
There's lots of papers out there. I mean, we know that when medical students, so when they start medical school, the rates of depression and anxiety mirror that of the general population.
Yeah.
By the time they're ready to graduate medical school, it's already above that of the general population. And like you mentioned before, when we look, there's about anywhere from 20 to 1/3, it depends on the study that you look at, 1/3 of surgeons will screen positive for depression. 40% of us have symptoms of PTSD, and I still think that number is wrong. It's going to be 100%, right?
100%.
It's symptoms, and then how they persist and how long and how intense is how you get to the actual diagnosis. But if you don't have a memory that is seared in your brain, right, that you think about at times or can be triggered at times, then I would question whether they've really been a trauma surgeon.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, looking at 10% of surgeons with suicidal ideation in the past 2 weeks.
That just absolutely blows my mind.
The United States, this is a problem. The United States loses the equivalent of a large entire medical school class each year due to suicide. And it touches all of us. I've had a med school classmate commit suicide. There's, as one example of how I've been touched by suicide in physicians. And it's true, we're not healing ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's almost this sort of toxic.
It's like
there's toxic altruism, exactly. Where it's like again, you get on the airplane, right, and they tell you to put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Yeah, no.
I am up, right? I am running. I am not just putting it on the person next to me before myself. I am running around the whole dang plane, making sure it's on everybody else while we're passing out at the end.
Yeah.
That's the medical specialty. That's the medical world.
That altruism, I'm thinking about the paper that you recently published looking at the state of the union for acute care surgery. And they said that the altruistic nature of acute care surgeons is the reason why you get taken advantage of.
Yes. No, it's 100%.
So I think you're
true.
getting taken advantage of, right? And that has to be contributing massively because no one really understands what you do.
Right. And so part of this is then becomes, how many surgeons does it take to screw in a light bulb, right? Like how many trauma surgeons should it take to run a trauma center? And it's funny, we have so many verification processes that actually tell us, for the registry people I was telling you about, people that review our data.
Yeah.
Our verifying bodies will tell us how many of those people I need to review charts for a volume of patients. But there's nothing in there about how many surgeons it takes. And so that's the other part of my work that we're doing nationally, is trying to figure out what should we be doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Given the scope
Given
of the job.
scope of what we do and how that scope has changed. I mean, from 20 years ago to today, the practice of trauma surgery has changed a lot, just with the verification, which is a good thing for trauma centers, and improving patient outcomes, making sure we're, in the hospital, that we're there within 10 to 15 minutes.
Yep.
That we're doing our own intensive care, our own critical care for patients. We're doing all the emergency surgery now because we've learned that their physiology is very similar to trauma patients. So we're best
equipped
to manage those patients.
Yeah.
But you're adding in, we're piling on the work. So part of it is that our field has changed and we need to change how we deliver that care.
Yeah.
And we're getting there. We're working on it.
It's getting better.
It is getting better. Absolutely.
I mean, in large part due to the work
well, thank
that
you.
you've done to shine
Thank
the light
you.
on that actually isn't okay.
Yeah.
And we need to do better.
Yeah.
And we're going to do better.
And we're going to do better.
I mean, I think
And that
about
we
like
can
female
do
physiology research specifically,
Yes.
It's like 6% of all research is done on females. That's it.
Yes.
Right. Like that is just mind-boggling, but it's kind of like,
Yeah.
all right, we know now, okay, like acute care surgeon, we know now that we need to do better.
Yes.
And now we actually have to do better.
And that we can do better.
We
I think
can do
that's
better.
part of it, is that so much of us, and I think no matter what field you're in, you feel like you can't. You feel like, I don't have the time. I don't have the space. I tried before. It didn't work. I can't be consistent. You can do better, and you will do better.
One of my dreams, and I think you share this dream, I would love to have like a performance optimization course in medical school, or like a
100%.
Human flourishing course, like help folks understand, okay, how do you heal thyself?
Absolutely.
Not just, it's an ongoing, it's a way of being in the world. Healing yourself is a way of being in the world. And it's like, that's, I think, one of the ways that we help just the broader kind of healthcare system
Yes.
is actually getting into medical school and
100%.
helping people understand how to take care of themselves. Because that to me is like like you've figured it out, but you have spent an enormous amounts of time. I mean, you have almost 50 published papers like in this area of stress and burnout, right? Like it's like you have devoted part of your life to trying to unravel what is a huge problem.
Well, and that's what's interesting. So again, going back to, I saw Will's interview, right?
Yeah.
And I started kind of diving into the research. And it
On
was
the Major League Baseball players.
Yes, the Major League Baseball players. And then I also started looking into the research about physician burnout. And it was eye-opening in that it was talking about risk factors for it.
Yeah.
Being female.
Yeah.
Having children that worked or that lived at home. Being married. Having a spouse who has a job outside of the home. Having a spouse who has a job outside the home that's not being a physician, right? Being, under the age of 55, like all of these things, being an academic surgeon, being a trauma surgeon, taking in-house call. Like,
so these are just demographics.
These
We're
are
not
just
even talking about
demographics.
sleep deprivation,
No.
circadian
These are
disruption. Like
these are just like, and so what I realized, I'm like, I check every literally every single box you could. And so I need to figure this out for myself, for my kids, for my husband, but also for my colleagues.
Yeah.
For the rest of us.
For the women who are going to follow in your footsteps.
Absolutely.
I'm an individual who believes in living my core values, but it can be a challenge sometimes when there are a lot of demands on my time. Life lately has felt especially busy between meetings and research, book writing, live talks, self-care and family time. My days are already really busy. Then I added a podcast and things started to feel, well, a little out of balance, which is why you're hearing me talk about my new show sponsor. Fiverr is a virtual assistant who's legitimately helped me reclaim my time and my peace. Fiverr is the marketplace where thousands of skilled freelancers are ready to meet your business or personal needs. Browse portfolios to find someone whose expertise, skills, and budget aligns with yours. It's literally that simple. If you're looking to free up time in your life, head to fiverr.com or click the link in the description and use code Kristen, Kristen, at checkout for 10% off your first hire. That's FIVERR.com.
There aren't many women in your field. we kind of share similarities there. Like I'm in a
Yes.
profession where very
Mhm.
few kind of female psychophysiologists, but it doesn't even matter.
Being a woman?
Yeah. And do we need female acute care surgeons?
That's a great question. Well, I will say there is a paper out that talks about the outcomes of female surgeons, not to pit men against women. And I think that sometimes when people talk about the findings, which showed that female surgeons had actually better outcomes. And really, the goal of that research is to show that we're at least equivalent,
Yeah.
right? And I think part of this, I believe that when you can see it, you can do it. I do
Yeah.
believe in role modeling and mentorship. And that's why I do talk about the fact that I'm a mom and I'm married and in academics and I do research and I'm a surgeon and I travel for work. You can live and direct a life that is meaningful and purposeful, no matter what pieces are in it, and that you can do it. And I do think that it's important. And I do think that it's funny, I get asked about, being a mom and surgeon and, balance. And I hate that word, right? Because, and I hate that word for so many reasons. But, one of it is because you, in my mind, I visualize an actual scale. So I'm one or the other.
Yeah.
Right? I'm
very
either,
literal.
Like very literal. You're like, I'm one or the other. And let's be very clear. Like I am still a mom when I'm in the hospital, whether it's because I'm fielding a phone call,
or you're filling out a form for your kid to play,
right,
baseball
where
this
is
season.
right, and you're in the middle of doing something and your phone rings and your nurse answers your phone and says, hey, they want to know where their left baseball cleat is, and I'm like, check the drawer and the to the right of the thing, underneath the thing, go 2 centimeters that way, right? I mean, so I'm still a mom when I'm in the hospital, and I try though also to. I think part of being a mom is building and cultivating a space for our children to be able to flourish.
Yeah.
That's leadership.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same thing. If you ask me what I want to build in my team, what do I want to teach my residents? I want to teach them, I want to create an environment that they can build their own skills and leadership skills and life skills so that they can flourish. Yeah. And so, it's the same. And my kids will definitely tell you, that I'm a trauma surgeon when I'm at home, when they want a Band-Aid and I'm like, is it bleeding first?
Yeah.
Like, if it's not bleeding.
Do you need stitches?
No blood, no Band-Aids. It's like rule number 1 in our house. Because we have boo-boos on our feelings and then we have, physical boo-boos.
Actual boo-boos.
Yeah, exactly. So no, it's a matter of understanding that who I am out of the white coat is what I bring to the white coat. And so whether that's being healthy, being recovered, being present, being mindful, being intentional, right? All of that, but also all those experiences that our life has given us through childhood, through being a mother now, through being a wife, all these things are what we bring to our jobs every day. It's not all of a sudden I just change who I am when I walk in the hospital door, and none of us do that. We're multifaceted. And you got to borrow from Daniel Tiger there. We can be more than one thing. Yeah. And we are. Yeah. And so it's really learning how to incorporate that.
Yeah. I love the idea of just getting permission to not have to separate yourself from these roles that are really important to you and bring purpose and meaning to your life. And I really want women who are listening and men who are listening to recognize that women are going to take on an emotional toll in the household,
Yes.
and are going to be subtly pressured to do a lot of the household chores in some cases.
Yep.
And we just need to call out that still happens.
Oh, 100%.
And, I'm curious how you and Reggie think about division of labor inside your home, right? He's a lawyer.
Yes.
You're a surgeon. You
Yes.
both have extraordinary demands on your time professionally,
Yep.
emotionally, physically, mentally.
Yes.
And then you come back to your home. To what degree is that a real partnership?
Yeah. Well, a couple things. So I think, first of all, the data tells us that women spend 7 hours on average more per week on household tasks than their male counterparts or male colleagues, right? So 7 hours.
So this is doing laundry,
That's a lot.
folding, dishes,
Right.
prepping for meals.
Doing paperwork,
Filling out
also the
forms.
filling out forms,
Yeah.
the mental workload of, have I made their dentist
Helping with
appointment?
homework. Yeah.
Right. I need to make the note, right? Then I gotta make the note, put a little checkbox next to it. I gotta make the dentist appointment. Then I gotta call and make the dentist appointment. But in order to make the dentist appointment, I have to check my work schedule. And I have to check my work schedule and the nanny's work schedule. And,
The kids' sports
one-
schedules, they're, blah, 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 blah,
right.
blah.
Like, baseball practice is not just putting the kid in the car, right? It's making sure that they have all the things, that the forms have been filled out, you've signed them up, da, da, da.
Uniform's
all these things.
clean. They've got
Uniform's clean, that they have their bag packed, that they know where everything is, right? So one is just understanding, like you said, is understanding that it exists. I think the second thing too is, again, tying purpose to it. Mom guilt is real.
Yeah.
And what my kids know, though, that I'm actually quite proud of is that they know that if I'm missing something of theirs or if I'm not home, that I'm helping somebody else. Right? So it ties purpose. So I do think that that's one
love
friction point that's a part of this mental and emotional workload of being a
That you're
woman.
not choosing them.
Right, that you're not choosing them. And in fact, I am choosing them because my job, society needs.
Yeah.
Not just my job, there are lots
Yeah.
of jobs. And also understanding that when we talk about that savings account, there's an emotional savings account too, in the sense of if I'm fulfilled on a personal level for what I'm doing and how I'm spending my time, I'm a better mom,
Yeah.
right?
Without a doubt.
And I'm a better wife, and I'm a better surgeon for being a mom, and I feel like I'm a better mom for being a surgeon. So there's that bi-directional relationship.
Yeah.
So one is definitely understanding the purpose of it. Second thing is outsourcing. I remember my very first year being, after I'd finished training as an attending is what we call it, and understanding that my time is valuable. And that I then can choose, in other words, I'm a big fan of outsourcing.
Yeah.
Would I spend that amount of money financially to pay myself to do these tasks versus can I pay somebody else to help with laundry or cooking or meal prep or driving kids to and from so I can show up, at the practice or at the game, but the prep work's been handled.
Yeah.
And I think some of it is, as women, we have to stop thinking that we have to do all these things to be considered a good mom.
Yeah. Yeah. That there's some sort of like checklist that
Right.
we have to
That if I don't pack my kids homemade lunch that's only got, preservative free, organic, things that if it's not that 100% of the time and I don't pack it, then
you're failing as a
I'm
mother.
failing as a mom. And that's where I think we have a lot of work to do, again, in self-talk, particularly as women and as moms, that it takes a village.
Yeah.
And what is my job as a mom? I go back to, again, creating and building an environment where my kids can cultivate themselves and learn how to flourish and be happy and healthy adults. Nowhere in there. And that's where I'm a big fan of mission statements.
Yeah.
Because they should be descriptive, not prescriptive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that when I do feel like I'm failing, I have something to pull out. And I have a mission statement as, a wife, as a mother, and as a trauma surgeon. As a trauma surgeon, it's just, I want to impact the care of the trauma patient beyond that of my operating room.
I love that.
Right?
Beautiful.
So doesn't mean, and so as a mom, I want to raise 2 young men into being happy and healthy adults who contribute back to their community. So when I'm feeling like, darn, I go to the grocery store and I'm buying the cookies that are supposed to be in the bake sale, and I take them out of like the packaged box and I put them in, the Tupperware thing. Hypothetically, of course, speaking.
Never done that before.
Of course you don't even know what I'm talking about, right?
No.
And so when I'm doing this, right, to be like, oh yeah, I made those for the bake sale, and like this is my shopping sale. But that's okay. Nowhere in my definition, nowhere in my compass of where I want to be and who I want to be and what kind of feeling I want to give the people around me has anything to do with me making cookies at 10 p.m. or 11 o'clock at night instead of going to sleep.
Yeah, when you've just been working for 32 hours straight.
It's just, it's not in there. So I think as women, we have to give ourselves grace and just let it go.
Yeah.
And say, again, I believe in also daily introspective moments, daily appraisals. Say, part of it should be, what did I do for myself today?
Yeah.
What did I do for my future self today?
Yeah.
And saying, I did a good job. No matter what, right? My kids are happy. My kids are healthy.
Yeah.
They're sleeping under this roof, right?
They're safe. They feel loved.
They feel loved.
Yeah.
They feel loved, period.
Yeah.
You've done a good job.
Yeah. I literally same sort of thing. Like, I'm just like, how can I break down in the simplest way, like how I want to be a mom. And like my only goal is to make them feel safe and make them feel loved.
Yep,
and I feel like
it.
if I could do those two things, like I can create conditions for them to feel safe and feel loved, like everything else will kind of work itself out.
100%.
Right?
More than 100%, 1,000%, right? And I think for us too, with, our backgrounds in childhood, right?
Yeah.
Like we are
Opposite
meeting
of safe.
is the opposite, right? Of feeling safe.
Unsafe all the time.
And opposite of feeling loved. That is such a gift.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate redemption, what we're doing.
We can overcomplicate it.
We do. And we do overcomplicate
We do.
it.
Yeah.
When we sit and think about, and that's something that sometimes I have to sit and allow myself to kind of think about, is it's the ultimate redemption.
Yeah.
Is growing in such a way that we are providing something to our children that was never provided to us.
That's a victory right there.
It is a huge, huge victory. And
we've stopped the cycle.
Right? Stopping the cycle of abuse is,
yeah.
Dude, give me my gold medal now, I mean, and it's still a process, right? But it's one that we don't celebrate ourselves. And that's what I want for every mom. If at the end of the day, they can look at themselves and say, my kid is loved.
Yeah.
My kid feels loved. You've won.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter about the handmade lunches or, not being perfect. Being human's not about being perfect. There's nothing in being human that's about being perfect. Perfection is unnatural. It doesn't belong in the world.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah. We should probably just remove that from the vernacular.
Yes. It's about showing up, being intentional, and growing. That's it.
And that's what it means to be human.
Yeah. I think to be human, it's feeling and healing. It's learning how to...
got goosebumps.
I know. Yeah, it's about recognizing your own feelings. Yeah. Processing your own feelings. It's the Maya Angelou, who's my favorite poet, whatever. And again, I'm going to mess up the quotation. I know, yeah. And I'm going to mess up the quotation. But, it's people may forget what you say to them. But again, right? People remember how you make them feel.
Yeah.
Our memories are tied to our emotions. The more intensely we feel something, the more intense that memory is ingrained upon us. And so it's about learning our own feelings. It's about processing our own feelings. It's about making people feel wonderful around us and healing ourselves and hopefully others along the way. Mm-hmm. This is why I am so excited for what you're doing. This is so hugely important. The vast majority of Americans have at least one adverse childhood experience. This is part of our life. Trauma is quote unquote natural. It happens. And so it's not about preventing it to a certain extent. I mean, I'm big on injury prevention, let me be clear.
Yes.
But it's about processing the things that happen to us. And again, from Stoicism, which you and I have talked a lot about. But when you understand that what's in your way is the way.
Yeah.
And when you embrace that and you take away the expectations and you simplify it and simplify things, you just feel a whole lot lighter.
Yeah. I think it starts with healing.
It does.
Yeah. I think like that's like the word that keeps kind of coming up, as you're talking,
Yeah.
and because I think, given what we know about the statistics, like so many people have unprocessed trauma.
Oh my
and,
gosh.
Taking that first step toward healing is the most important step
Yes.
for yourself, and you deserve it. But for the people you love as well. So, yeah, I know people are going to benefit wildly from all the wisdom that you shared today.
Oh, I hope so.
So
Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing your soul.
Oh, thank you.
A whole lot of
for-
science, but
Yeah.
a whole lot of soul.
Definitely try to have both. Thank you so much for the opportunity. This has been amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.